Hello there, and welcome to Talking Nerdy, the show where we take various story arcs and events from current comics and we cover them. I'm your host, Obi-Wan Jabroni. Now, on today's show, we will be covering Darth Vader number 18 through 21, written by Greg Pak, with art by Leonard Kirk, and colors by Alex Sinclair. The criminal organization known as Crimson Dawn humiliated the Empire and manipulated the Hutts into attacking them. This led to to a swift punishment and destruction of the Hutt Council. Now that Darth Vader has discovered Crimson Dawn's influence across the galaxy, his first priority is to seek out the infiltrators and destroy them one by one. So, with that, let's start talking nerdy. First up, we have Darth Vader number 18, Red Revenge. And we open in Vader's chambers, and Vader is meditating and has flashes of his fight in Cloud City with Luke. And we get an internal monologue from him during this meditation saying, "In this fight, my master, you have brought only chaos, punishing the most loyal while all else falls into pieces. Now, with or without my son, I will bring order, starting with the true traitors, Crimson Dawn." And we switch to the planet Vincorba. And we see the city pontiff going through town protected by Crimson Dawn soldiers and demanding the civilians pay him tribute. And they continue along shooting anyone who denies them tribute until a bug-like alien blocks the road. They tell him to move and it says no and lunges forward, drawing a sword in each of its four arms. And we learn its name is Chilazin. And at that same moment, a big round droid bursts through the crowd and attacks from the rear with bombs and blasters. The Pontiff tries to escape during the chaos, but doesn't go far before a sniper shot blasts him through the forehead. Chilla and the droid, we find out, whose name is G90, make their escape and meet up with the sniper Lorach, as well as Darth Vader and Ochi. Ochi congratulates them on passing the test and tells them they now work for Darth Vader, whether they like it or not. And we switch again to the planet Kalior. And we see an Imperial shuttle land on a field outside a village, and a group of Crimson Dawn soldiers and Imperial auditors step out. The auditor immediately kills the village leader and demands claim on the town's waterworks. And he also demands a monthly tribute from them. And the newly appointed next in line leader begrudgingly agrees when all of a sudden the shuttle behind them explodes and three people step through the fire and start to kill all of the Crimson Dawn soldiers and Imperial traitors. During the battle, three Imperial walkers arrive and the trio are forced to take cover. And as they try to take out the remaining Imperial and Crimson Dawn soldiers, another ship arrives and takes out the walkers and the remaining guards for them. The ship lands, and Vader and his crew step down the ramp and approach the trio. And we switch again to later that night. Ochi has convinced the trio to join Vader's hunt, and he approaches Vader on the outside of the camp and says, "This is perfect. I mean, I don't have to tell you, but we got him hooked. So now we've got ourselves a team of true believers, and now you're their new hero. So we can send them out to soften up the field before we use our real killers. Nice to have expendable assets, huh?" and Vader just turns and looks him silently for a moment before saying, "You are all expendable in the name of order." And he turns and walks away without saying another word. Now, we switch to elsewhere on the planet Polis Massa. We see Padme Amidala's handmaiden, Sabe, approach the wreckage of a building, and she finds a droid that is still active. And we see that it's Vader's old protocol droid that he had back at the beginning of this volume of Vader when he was first hunting down everyone who knew about Luke's birth. And he asks if she found what she was looking for. She says no, she is looking for Vader. And we see she is wearing a Crimson Dawn patch on her vest now. And that ends this issue. taking us to Vader number 19, Dark Order. And we open on the planet Lakor, and we see Vader's new crew as well as Ochi and Valance approach a pile of bodies and a squad of stormtroopers. And Ochi walks up to the captain and says, "Well, well, well. Nice little mess you got here, huh? I don't know how you do things here on the backside of nowhere, but where I come from, you pay attention to Imperial Seal if you want to keep your head. I'm Ochi of Bestoon. This is Balance." And Valance corrects him, and he says, "Sure, sure. 3 Revengers fighting for principle and 3 assassins fighting for money. Either way, you don't want to mess with them. And that's the boss, Lord Vader. You do not want to talk to. So, let's see how well you do with dealing with me. Now, what happened here? And no jerking us around. Valance used to be a grunt like you. He knows all your little tricks." And the captain says that there's nothing to hide. The civilians refused to pay tribute to Crimson Dawn, so they were killed. Ochi says, "All right," and tells everyone to clear the area, and the troopers start to do so, but some of the locals refuse to leave their loved ones and try to resist. The troopers instantly start to unload into them, but the blaster bolts are repelled by Vader, who intervenes just in time and lunges forward, killing the troopers. Vader walks away, saying they were all Crimson Dawn. And we switch to later. And Ochi and Valance are standing on a ridge looking at a data pad. And they got off one of the troopers, and Ochi says, "All right, Valance, looks like Crimson Dawn's got a secret base in these foothills. That's where you're trying to take our little local heroes. The objective? Kill every damn Dawner, of course. But for now, it's a basic scouting mission. I know you're a fancy pilot, but you're still a bounty hunter at heart, right? You'll be right at home down in the muck. Look around, see what you can see, and report back to me now." And Valance begrudgingly huffs and puffs, and he goes and he leads the town down to the valley, and before long they are attacked. Meanwhile, on the ridge, Ochi and his 3 assassins watch Valance try to survive as Laurel Chase scouts out the attacker's location. The others ask if they should help, and Ochi says, "No, give them a few more minutes." All of a sudden, Ochi raises into the air, and we see Vader throw him down the hill with the Force and say, "Your plan needs more bait, Ochi." Slowly, oh, sorry. Shortly after, Vader follows down the hill riding on top of G90. He bursts through the enemy forces towards the base, ignoring the battle other than deflecting blaster bolts away from him and the robot. He enters and slaughters everyone inside and accesses the terminal. And shortly after, Ochi enters the base and says that the enemy has been taken out outside. And Ochi walks up and looks at the terminal and says, "Oh man, according to this, they're everywhere, in every corner of it, every Imperial bureaucracy, all the way to the top." And Vader clenches his fist as he looks at the screen and says, "So be it." And that ends this issue. Leading us to Vader number 20, The Queen's Shadow Returns. We opened 3 weeks ago on Polis Massa, and we see Sabe watching a recording of Padme's last moments in birth. When it ends, she goes over and reactivates Vader's old droid, Z67. He tells her that Vader turned on him, and she tells him that she is his new master, and that she asks why Vader was interested in Padme. And Zed says, "A good question. I believe it began with her son. We're standing in his birthing chamber right now. The father was her Jedi bodyguard, Anakin Skywalker. The boy's name is Luke Skywalker, the same one who blew up the Death Star. It was unclear whether he wanted to kill his son, but her son. He was focused on those who hid the boy when he was a baby, traitors to the Empire and all that. Perhaps I could be more helpful if you just told me your objectives, Sabe." And she turns and walks away saying, "To kill Vader, but now I wonder if I can use him instead." And we switch to the current time on the planet Lakor. Vader and Ochi enter a room, and Sabe runs away, barely escaping. She runs outside into whoop, she runs outside to a safe hiding spot where Zed is waiting on her, and he asks if she was successful. She says yes, and Vader should find the list she uploaded to the terminal, and take the bait easily any time now. And they wait for a while, and then they see Vader's shuttle leaving the planet. Sabe smiles and says, "They bit." And we switch to later on Coruscant. Vader and Ochi land and enter the Imperial throne room, and we see the Emperor and various leaderships inside. Ochi points out a few people, and without a word, Vader ignites his lightsaber and executes them all. And during this, we get a brief montage of Vader's forces doing the same thing to various people all across the planet and the city. When he's done, Palpatine approaches Vader and says, "Perhaps you should have kept one alive for questioning." They admire us Sith, so they scheme, only loyal to strength, which you have shown them. But only one of them was Crimson Dawn. Your list is flawed, but I wonder if you had already known that or not. We will see if you shall bring order. We shall see. And Palpatine turns and walks away, and Ochi and Vader leave shortly after. When they get outside, Ochi asks what now, and oh, sorry about that. When they get outside, Ochi asks what now, and Vader says, "The list was a plant. I knew when you told me that you could only confirm half the names on the list. I swore to bring order, and every other name on that list was an agent of chaos. Find out what connects the people on that list, and we'll find out who planted it and why." And we switch to later on that night at Administrator Moore's villa. Ochi tells Moore that the list was a plant and asks if she was responsible for it. She scoffs and says no. "If I were, your name would have been at the top of the list." Suddenly, they are both electrocuted and fall to their knees, and Sabe and Zed enter the room, and Sabe says, "So sorry for the interruption, but it's time to meet your new handler. You'll do as I say, or I'll give Vader the real list of Crimson Dawn collaborators, with both your names right at the top." And that ends this issue. Taking us to our final issue, Darth Vader number 21, Return of the Handmaiden. And we open in Administrator Moore's villa, and Ochi asks who Sabe is, and she says Crimson Dawn. Moore asks why she attacked them then, and Sabe replies, "So you know who's in charge. I planted the list of names your master has been hunting. Every organization needs a little cleaning once in a while. Your names were left off. You should be happy. But if you want to stay happy, I need some answers. Lord Vader, what does he want?" And Moore starts cracking up laughing and says, "You can't kill Vader. We have all tried on separate occasions and together, and we have all failed every single time." And Ochi cuts in and says, "He wants you, whoever you are. He knows the list is a plant. He told me to find out what connects the people on the list, and he says that'll lead me back to you." And Sabe tells him to do exactly that. To do exactly that for Vader, and tell her how he reacts to reacts to what you discovered. Sorry, I'm tongue tied today. Um, Later on Vader's Star Destroyer, Ochi enters Vader's quarters and says, "I checked into the targets we took out so far. Ramdi's soldiers, not Crimson Dawn, and neither is he. But he's trouble. Pure military. He doesn't understand the Sith. He'll come for you someday. As for what connects the targets, nothing unusual. They served in the same unit a while back, got decorations for the same mission. Just taking out some losers from Naboo, called themselves Amidala. But Ramdi, I'm telling you, he's bad news." And we switch to later on the planet Tranchar. Vader's crew attacks the enemy outpost, and they take out the outer guard and burst through the gate to find an army of droids waiting for them. They all take cover and start to pick off the droids as they make their way towards the base's main building. G90 covers them with a bunch. barrage of grenades, and they splice the door and get inside, quickly shutting the door behind them. And they find the target, an Imperial lieutenant named Grappa, torturing people, and one of Vader's crew snaps and tries to help them. G90 says we need him alive, but not them, and he unloads on the room, killing everybody that's in there except for Lieutenant Grappa. Suddenly, Vader appears and cuts G90 in half and walks over to Lieutenant Grappa, demanding to know about the Amidalans. The lieutenant stutters that he don't know it. He don't know. It was a bunch of old soldiers and some Gungans, but they killed them all. And before he can continue, the crewman that wanted to save the people shoots the lieutenant in the forehead. Vader turns and stares at him for a moment, then silently leaves the building. Once outside, he asks Valance who sent the droids, and Valance says they came from Ramdi's command. Vader approaches Ochi and says, Ochi of Bestoon, you spoke with Ramdi, and then he attacks my soldiers, as if he knew we were coming. And Ochi stutters, and then turns and runs as fast as he can. And we switch to later on Naboo. Um, Ochi's ship lands next to a house, and he exits calling for help. And as soon as he steps off his ship, it explodes, and we see Vader's TIE fighter approach and land next to him. Ochi tries to stutter out an excuse, but Vader cuts him off, saying, Silence. Do you think you could have joined Crimson Dawn without my knowledge? You have done well, Ochi of Bestoon. Lead me to their lair. Sabe, royal handmaiden, leader of the Amidalans. You wanted to kill me, but then you thought you could use me. Listen to me carefully. I will use you now, because I am the Dawn. And Vader rips the Crimson Dawn pin off her vest, and that ends this story. I hope you enjoyed the video this week. Join us next week as we cover King Spawn number 5 through 8. Thanks for watching. As always, remember to like, subscribe, and share our video to help spread our brand through the world. Also, leave a comment down below. Feedback is always welcome. Now, you can also find and follow us on the Jabroni Nerd Facebook page as well as YouTube. So, until next week, guys, keep talking nerdy.